Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 49 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How you guys doing?
How you doing, Sean?
Doing well.
How you doing, Turtle?
I'm hanging in there, boys.
Hanging in there.
Work has been stressful. We'll say that.
Did you tell work to stop being so stressful so you could watch more anime?
I tried. I don't think it's going over well, but we'll see. It's not over yet.
I'm doing good too. Oh, I guess I'm doing better than you, Turtle. You're stressed
Well,
out.
I'm happy for you. I am.
We need to finish recording this episode so I can go back to playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Oh, I'm jealous. After we're done recording, I'm going to bed.
After we're done recording, I'm watching 2 more episodes of Frieren, but I also don't have 7 remake or rebirth. I mean,
You need to resolve that issue.
You should. It's pretty good so far. Although I'm not that far into it. I played the demo and I booted up the actual game here, and I have opted to replay the demo portion because it's been a while. I want to refresh, get a better feeling for the combat. But I've only had a chance to play about an hour and a half, so I'm not that far into it. But it's so pretty.
It's gorgeous. Turtle, did you make sure you claim your bonuses from the main menu?
I did not do that yet.
Okay, you should do that because you get with playing remake and intermission, you get 2 things of summons right off the jump.
Yeah, you get Leviathan and Rama. Is that right?
Uh, well, maybe I need to pick them up at some other point, but I have Ifrit and Shiva, I believe, right now.
Oh, okay.
And
I thought
then
I recalled them
y
saying that if you have data from remake and intermission, you get Leviathan and Rama
oh,
respectively, I
wait,
believe.
isn't it called intergrade?
that
Yes, no,
I it's really weird, the naming.
Oh, so it actually might be intermission.
it's both.
Ah, okay. I've never heard intermission before.
They called it intergrade and intermission. I don't know. It's the first DLC because it's basically what it is.
Okay, well, good to know.
But the DLC is only playable on the PS5 version. So if you have it for PS4,
Which
you
I do.
can't you cannot play intergrade
I'm
slash
not buying it
intermission.
again.
I
That's for
did.
sure.
I'm a sucker. I did. I actually bought a physical copy for the PS5 as well. So most people would say that that is a waste, and I cannot argue, but I did it anyway.
I was gonna say you coulda just put 4 into your 5 and cloud save transferred your save file.
I could have, but I played the whole game again on the PS5 and got all the achievements. So for Final Fantasy VII, spare no expense.
Are you gonna get all the trophies for Rebirth?
Sigh, probably.
I hope you're, willing to put in, like, 200 hours.
Oh no. I was looking at the achievements, and there's a lot of hiddens that I did not look at. So yeah, I'm sure it's going to be grueling.
The complete the game on all chapters on hard difficulty is back, so
I had a feeling.
you only get hard difficulty unlocked after beating it on once before.
Yeah, I'm playing through normal to start, so we'll have to do it step by step.
I think it's close to a 60 to a 100-hour game from what they're saying, depending on how much of the open world you do,
Yeah, oh boy.
and, I'm 8 hours in at this point, and I'm still on chapter 2 because I just keep doing open world stuff.
Oh boy.
My PS5 says I'm 13% of the way through the game.
And you're on chapter 2.
Yeah, but it is so dang gorgeous, and I mean, the music, of course, is phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you have the baseline of Nobuo Uematsu to work off of,
Hard to go wrong there.
I'm very much excited to complete recording tonight so I can go back to play more.
yeah, sadly, I have to get up early in the morning for more work festivities, so I'll be going to bed after this.
Just don't sleep, just drink a lot of coffee.
Oh, dude, I have acid reflux real bad, so I cannot do a bunch of caffeine. It hurts me. But I never liked coffee. I love the smell of like coffee beans, but I don't like the taste. Does anybody else have that? Am I the only one? Let us know.
I actually don't drink coffee, believe it or not.
My wife says I don't drink coffee. I drink sugar water. Be because I don't even put sugar in. I put cream, but to her
Okay.
that's sugar water. And it's also because mainly drink Dunkin' coffee, which she calls sugar water.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing that wakes me up, and I don't drink tea either. What wakes me up is cold water and anger,
It's just pure rage.
pure rage. To be fair, it's actually water and panic. Because every day I open my email and I have like 50 emails waiting for me, and there's a good chance some of them are very relevant and going to cost me hours upon hours of work.
Ugh.
Because a lot of my coworkers are in India and UK and APAC, so like the bulk of my emails like come in the morning. So like every morning is just like it's just fueled with panic, like seeing 6 emails of people following up on things, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll get this done today.
Time to get to work.
Well, shall we start talking about free rent so I can get back to Final Fantasy?
I don't know if we're gonna get back to Frieren.
I want to talk about free rent so I can go to bed. So let's do it.
All right.
Today we are talking about episodes 19 and 20 of Free Ren Beyond Journey's End. Episode 19, Well Laid Plans. As Lavina and Kana sleep, Free Ren remembers the night before Himmel and party fought their first dragon. Himmel sees Eisen shaking and asks if he is scared. Eisen says yes, which shocks Himmel. He says he is scared as well. Himmel tells everyone he was trying to prepare a speech to motivate everyone. Heiter tells Himmel that they chose to follow him, so his own words are more important than any pre made speech from somebody else. Frieren realizes Heiter was right. Every party needs something different.
Free run giving credit to Hyder and not calling him a corrupt priest for once.
Probably the first time, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like they go to that well a few too many times sometimes. But I don't know, maybe not. Oh, also, I just I want to mention like I like his speech, Himmel's speech about like how everyone's kind of scared, and I think that it's pretty cool that he's giving that speech because it makes me think about the legendary heroes of just Earth. You know what I mean? Like just think about Earth, right? And how many like old stories of heroes and how great they are, right? All these legends. And I'm like, you're gonna think none of these elite heroes of legend were ever like scared going into battle. I think it's a very human reaction. And we think about, like I said, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head who's not just a. Well, honestly, a lot of these legends become mythological figures, even if the guy themselves weren't. Even if it was a real guy, and they kind of made stories after him, they kind of become a mythological figure, like Himmel the hero. Himmel the hero pulled the sword out of the stone, right, and used the hero's sword to vanquish the demon king, but he didn't really. You know what I mean? Like we just kind of make things up to grow the legend. But all those legendary heroes at some point, even the even the bravest soldier. You look at soldiers with medals of honor, right? And guarantee you they were scared out of their minds half the time they were doing their heroics. But that's, I guess, it's very realistic. So I really like that take.
We cut to Fern's group, and they have caught their Stilla, and Fern's ready to relax, but her party reminds her that they are now a target. Ubel is excited to spill some blood. You got some issues, girl. In the morning, the girls put their heads together and review the information that they have gathered on the Stilla. They are too fast and strong to be stopped by ice magic, and Kana's magic can only control water, not create it. She's able to infuse her magic in water, though. Frieren comes up with a plan. Frieren has a folk magic spell that can restrain a bird. Now they just need to find one.
I really like how they use this scene to explain Kana's magic and to also explain the folk magic spell.
Yeah, I like the idea of folk magic, where like you go to different regions and like I don't know, you say like we're an ancient tribe, but we're kind of secluded. We knew about magic long ago, but we don't know too much about it now. So we developed this spell. to do something very specific. So I love the idea of like tribes kind of like passing certain magical spells down, but the rest of the world not knowing about them. But because of Freeren's world travel, she knows an abundance of spells and magic, which is something I think is it's just really fun.
I think it's kind of interesting that they haven't really gone into super detail about how magic works in this world. We get these tomes filled with spells, I guess, but like you don't ever see them like speaking incantations. So we don't really get a really descriptive, detailed explanation to how magic works. So I do like the idea of them going into this folk magic where it's like, oh, just some loose thoughts can be tweaked here and there to do simple little things. I just thought that was interesting.
I also got a really good laugh at Lavina putting Kana in a modified camel clutch by pulling her hair.
Broke her back, made her humble.
R.I.P. Shiki.
R.I.P.
Burns' group decides to find some water and lay low until the test is over.
Not to interrupt here, Turtle, but odd how the show used the labels for Fern's party, but not for Freerun's party. And like the labels I'm talking about are like they showed each character and they said what party they were in, their name, and like the rank of mage they were. So like we didn't get that with Freerun's party of like Freeren, Party 2, unregistered mage.
Illegal underground mage.
Yeah. So like but here we learned that Fern's party is the fourth party, and they're made up of Land, who is a second class mage, Ubel, who is a third class mage, and Fern, who is a third class mage. I thought it was a really nice touch to like we're getting all these new characters, and it's a good way to tell you like remind you of their names, tell you what party they're in for this like training like first class mage arc, and just to keep track of the parties.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. And it's a good way to introduce these characters quickly without having to be like, this is so and so. They're in group whatever. They're a whatever mage. It's like here's it pops up on screen. We move to the next person. You can see that. It's like, all right, take notes. Here they are. Now let's move on. They didn't like spend an eternity explaining everybody. They just it popped up on the screen. Here they are. Here's the group they're in. Here's what class mage. Remember this.
Yeah, I'm cool with the quick labels.
As they head towards the lake to fill their canteens, they all come to the conclusion that the lake is the largest water source in the testing grounds. That means the Stilla and the other mages will be around there as well. Just then, Fern's group is attacked. Fern is able to block the attacking spell as the enemy reveals themselves. They are attacked by the eighth party, which consists of Sharf, a third class mage. I'm not sure how to say this properly. I
I
think
think
in
it's
the
Eric.
English, Airy.
I think so.
I swear in the English version, I think they call her Edda, but
Oh,
that's the translation. So
It might be Era because it's German.
yeah, these German names, man, they're killing me. Just when I thought I was getting a handle on Japanese names, now they're throwing German at me. I'm just gonna call her Airy for now. That's fine. That's good enough. So we get Sharf, a third class mage, Airy, a second class mage, and Werble, who is sort of the team leader. He is a second class mage.
Very convenient that they are ambushed just as Lan was talking about potential ambushes.
Yeah, I love the thought and planning that really goes into this. They're really selling me the narrative, and I really appreciate that because I think about a lot of shows where uh, characters come with these very elaborate schemes, and it has to make sense. Because I feel like there were a couple times I remember watching like No Game No Life, and they came to a certain conclusion about how to win a game, and I was like, eh. But the problem with writing like these genius characters, right? When you're writing a genius character, you have to convince me that they are a genius and they can think of something that no one else can. And I think it's very difficult from a writing standpoint. So I really like Freeren's plan here because she has the personnel, right? A water mage and an ice mage. So it's like it's a plan that is very unique to their situation that they can pull off that probably no one else can. So I'm like the writing is smart because it's a plan no one else could have pulled off. So like I'm really liking how they're selling me the idea. And I hope they keep it up because this is the longest arc that the show has had so far, and it's like 3 to 4 episodes, right? So they need to play the long game and write well, and they've done it so far. And kind of like one of their probably their second test of having a multi-episode arc that is meaningful.
Fern's group is about to enter battle when suddenly there is a giant explosion of magic at the lake. Lavina casts a spell that freezes the entire lake. One group shows up and they try to cast some fire magic to thaw it out. But Old Man Dankin, a second class mage in the 13th party, says this is a dumb idea. I agree. The 13th party is made up of Dankin, Richter, a second class mage, and Laufin, a third class mage.
The visual of the big magical explosion at the lake was so cool. You get like this giant spout of water just flying up in the air with like what looked like lightning sort of going around it.
My favorite part of this scene was just the one mage just like yelling at the other two guys. She's just standing
Oh,
there yelling at them, "Burn, yeah, melt the ice!" And I'm like, you know how much mana you would have to burn to melt that much ice? Like,
oh my
I can only
goodness.
imagine.
Yeah, like she's just like, hurry up, hurry up. I'm like, wow, you are really wasting your energy here.
Yeah, I'm like, this is dumb. Like, this is the dumbest plan you could come up with. So I'm like, okay, well, I know who was not passing this exam.
They made that very clear.
Yes.
You know these guys are just jabronis because they don't get the name cards at all.
They do not. That's correct. So we don't know who these characters are. I have a feeling we're not going to see them again.
Yeah, like, did the guy shooting fire even get defined faces? They may not even have gotten, like, real faces. I don't even know.
They're getting jobbed out next week.
We get a quick montage of all these moving pieces. Frieren is on the hunt for Estella, I presume. Kana is also searching. Lavina is running to meet up with her party, I guess. Fern's group is still under attack, and Land says they should split up for now. Dankin realizes that after the giant explosion spell, the Stilla will stay away from the lake due to all the mana. He tells his group they'll have to steal a Stilla, and Freeren's group must be close to catching one. Cue the excitement! Dankin's group comes across a dead mage up in a tree. Dankin tells his party there is no helping him, and they need to move on. Laufin wants to at least bring the body down. Dankin reminds her of the monster birds circling overhead. The birds use the corpse of one person to trap more prey. Richter says anyone who is killed on a stage like this is not qualified to be first class. Man, this guy is cold.
This has a really cool makeup, in my opinion, and I hope we see more of them because, like, Denkin has the history. He seems very intelligent. The opposite side of the coin of Frieren. Laufin actually cares about people. Like, even though it would get her killed, she wanted to bring down the dead mage. And Richter is just an asshole.
Mike, that's a really good party about the party makeup. Uh, and we see this towards the end of the episode. There's a bit of a clash of personalities in this party where it seems like their leader is Denkin, but Laufin's kind of like a wild card. He seems like he's just going to do whatever he wants for the most part. And he seems like he really enjoys like the mission. He's like, I'm here to get, I'm here to get my class one mage license or whatever, any way possible. He does not care what it takes. But Laufin shows some humanity here, and that could conflict with Richter later, and I guess we're gonna see what happens there. But Denkin's really the star for me. He's clearly like the oldest guy, not counting our our own elf, of course, but Denkin is extremely intelligent, and I want to see what kind of insanity he brings to the table.
Dankin says that the strength of a mage does not matter. He has seen several mages stronger than himself be imprisoned or worse by the people that used to support them. It is far more important for a first class mage to be a symbol of power, not powerful themselves. Richter calls Denkin weak, but Denkin says to watch his mouth or he'll beat his ass. I think I like this Denkin guy.
I want to see Denkin in action to have that kind of confidence. Also, very interesting that he points out that first class mages are seen as symbols of power and not necessarily the most powerful.
They kind of showed that in his montage where he would see like old beaten down mages who were more powerful than him because society kind of shoot him up and spit him out. He's been playing the Game of Thrones based on like the description earlier in this demeanor. He's like, I've done what I have to survive in this world and gain a level of respect. So I don't know. Everyone, all these other mages seem they're like, yeah, I went to a magic academy, or like Fern, I've been traveling with my master, and this guy's like, I've been I've been deposing kings and like grasping at positions of power. So this guy could really have his own show because I feel like there are so many interesting stories we could learn about him.
Yeah, you can tell this guy's been through a lot. He's seen some shit. Denkin is able to piece together Frieren's plan. As Kana runs around imbuing her mana into each body of water she can, Frieren will wait at one of the only untouched watering holes to catch Astilla. Denkin says if they find Group 2, they will find the bird. Then he takes a nap.
I'm sure you want to take a nap right now, Turtle.
That would be lovely. But I can't. I'm on the job. At our chosen pond, Frieren sits still and suppresses her mana. Lavina says she did not know a mage could shut off their mana. Frieren explains you cannot. Even the slightest movement will exude some mana. The kids are unable to sense any mana from Frieren, and they decide to be on watch duty. As Frieren sits there, motionless, we see some wildlife stop by for a drink, including one of the monster birds that attacked Kana and killed that other mage in the tree. Eventually, Astilla appears, and it lands right on Frieren's shoulder. She casts her spell and cages the bird.
The scene of Frieren just waiting motionless by the body of water was so cool to see they built these monster birds up so much. Like they tried to attack it. One of them tried to attack Kana and almost got her, and Frieren had to capture it and kill it. And then they built it up with the fact that one of them killed that mage, and they use their victims as prey to kill more like people in the forest. And here Frieren is just hanging out, sitting motionless by the water, and the bird doesn't even pay Frieren any attention. Like, doesn't look its her way, doesn't even sniff at her. It just goes to show if you don't bug animals in their environment, they won't bother you.
It makes me kind of wonder can the bird even see or does it just sense mana?
That's a good question.
Well, a lot of animals move by motion, so if you're a person and you're kind of just like sitting on the ground, a bird may legitimately not even notice you because, like I said, a lot of animals go by motion. I want to say that this show, between the animation and music, can make something as simple as a character sitting by a watering hole my favorite part of an episode. This really was my favorite part of the episode. The visuals of like the creatures coming to sip water while Frieren's just sitting there peacefully. To the music, my gosh, the music during the scene was fantastic. I had to look up the composer Evan Call because I've been so impressed with the music in this series. I was trying to see if I'd seen any of the other works by Evan Call, and I Violet Evergarden is somewhat popular, but I haven't even heard of most of these other shows that they've worked on. So it's someone I'll have to look out for, I guess, in anime in the future. But it coupled with the music and the visuals, capturing the Stilla felt so rewarding as a viewer. Like Frieren was victorious, and I felt victorious with her. And man, I really loved how that was executed.
As Kana begins to celebrate their victory, Denkin's group moves in. We also see Fern in combat with a mage flying and throwing rocks. I mean, they're moving like bullets from a gun, but still, The throwing rock spell just doesn't sound very threatening. Her opponent asks if Fern has any better spells than just basic magic attacks. Fern says her teacher says, that is all you need to defeat a mage of this era. The other mage says Ubel is going to lose, and so will Fern. Fern responds with, is that so?
I really want to see Fern unleash a non-basic attack at some point.
She's not allowed to use non-basic magic. She's only allowed to use basic magic. But there's some common themes here when it comes to these magic users. Frieren and Fern have often talked about and used the arrogance of their opponents against them. And there's a little bit of arrogance here. Fern's opponent is like, this is like a little kid who just used their first spell. She also mentions another time where she says she feels like she's fighting someone with techniques like her grandfather. So she compares Fern to an old person and a little kid, two of the most non-threatening people you can think of, right? Uh, and obviously that arrogance is going to come back to bite her. But I also love Fern because when you just look at her, she looks like she can barely hold the staff. Like her hands are so tiny around it. I'm like, dang, if someone just walked up to her and like you could slap it out of her hands because looks like the staff's so huge and she is not.
Put that down. And that's the end of our episode. But I think before we move on to episode 20, my throat's a little sore, man. I think I need a drink.
Well, you know what they say, alcohol's the best medicine.
There it is.
And that means it is time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week's beer comes to you from Spoonwood Brewing, and it is their Eddie's Tone, a 4.4% session brown ale. It was brewed with a blend of British and American malts and East Kent Golding hops. I love a good brown ale. It's been a while since I've had a good brown ale, and they're one like brown ales were one of the first craft beer styles that I got into when I got into the craft beer scene, and it's just like drinking this took me back to like, oh, I forgot how much I enjoyed this style of beer. But I had this beer at Spoonwood Brewing itself at the brewery when I was having a belated Christmas gathering with some friends. And as part of that, my buddy Lee got me this really cool Chainsaw Man vinyl figure of Chainsaw Denji. It's made by Twos, who I've never heard of, um, but it's really cool looking. I was definitely looking to getting more figures from this company. I'm hoping we might even see some of them at Teco this year. But definitely an awesome gift. Thanks again, Lee. And the average untapped rating of this beer is a 3.83, and I give it a 3.75.
Episode 20, Necessary Killing. The episode begins with Ubel battling with Werble. What names? Both of these characters seem to have no problems with killing. Ubel is using an invisible slashing magic and ends up cutting down quite a few trees. Fern is battling Ere, who is convinced Werble cannot be defeated. Fern launches a barrage of basic attacks at Ere. At first, Ere blows off Fern, but then Fern opens up and increases her attacks and overpowers Ere.
First off, first thing I noticed, Ubel and Werble both had those flat eyes of killers. And then while they were fighting, it's crazy that you can't even see Ubel's attacks. Like you just see stuff getting cut down in the background, but you don't see like what she's swinging with. And then finally, and the most important question, did Fern just kill someone?
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty important question, right? I mean, it's a good question, right? Because it yes, no.
it did kind of seem that way.
Yeah, the title of this episode is just called Necessary Killing, and I was like, uh so he's getting executed, right? So I don't know. I was just I was a little nervous about that. I Fern did just look like annihilate her opponent in a fight, and also when you watch her fight, Fern just blasts all this magic with a completely expressionless face, and that just kills me. It cracks me up.
Werble uses the same spell Frieren used on the Stilla to bind Ubel. He releases her and tells her to drop the cage. Ubel wonders why Werble didn't just come over and take the cage himself. Ubel throws the cage into the air, which causes Werble to look up. Bad move, buddy. Ubel has the most evil smile as she lunges at Werble with a slash. He's able to step back and only get a scratch on his nose. He binds her again with his spell. He gives us a quick backstory. He is a mercenary from a northern magic corps. He has had to kill demons, but also women and children. He's actually had a pretty tough life.
It's really cool to see how two mages can use the same spell differently. Frieren's use of that binding spell requires touch. She's like, oh, we need it's mere centimeters to be able to capture it. Meanwhile, Werble can use it just by sight.
Yeah, it's not the same spell, but it's really similar, right? Out of these two characters I don't even really know are making me very nervous. Once again, it's the title. Necessary killing. No.
Sean's waiting for someone to die.
Yeah, that's what I'm sitting here waiting for. I have so much anxiety this whole episode.
It can happen at any time.
Seeing those children, quote unquote, march to war was so tragic. Like, you could tell that they didn't want to be there. Like, they didn't even have really real weapons or anything. Like, they were like 8-year-olds. Like, they reminded me of Thorfinn playing war with his wooden sword in Vinland Saga.
That was some really messed up imagery there.
And then it's interesting to see that Ubel can tell more about a mage by the kind of magic they use. And she picks up that Werble actually hates killing. She's like, you've had multiple instances that you could have killed me, like, and you haven't. So it's really cool to like see and learn about that.
I think I kind of like Werble too, because like he will kill, but he has to like prepare himself. He's not just all like I'll kill anybody, I don't care. Where Ubel's just like she just wants to murder people because she thinks it's fun.
I agree with that. Like Werble, like definitely, like he has no qualms about it when it's time, but he doesn't necessarily want to do it.
Ubel's a little too eager. I when she was put on Fern's team, I don't know if I was relieved or nervous.
Right?
But Ubel will not get her first class mage title if she kills Fern. So I guess I was mostly relieved. Unless she tries to kill Frieren. Because, if Fern has to choose the loyalties, she's going to pick Frieren.
Oh yeah. I don't think Ubel has it in her to mess with Frieren. Werble prepares himself to kill Ubel when Fern shows up. Werble asks what happened to Ere. Fern declares she killed her. Werble releases his binding spell since he has failed the test, and he retreats. That was a close call. Ubel knows Fern is bluffing, and the two take off. See, she didn't do it. Land, the third member of Fern's group, is battling Sharf from Werble's group. Sharf is able to turn flower petals into metal shards. Now that is a dangerous spell.
Zar's power is so cool. And it looks so awesome when he has that big wave behind him when we first transition to this scene.
Oh, I definitely agree. Yeah, it's just it's a cool ability. I like that the mages in general just have fun abilities. Like it's going really well from that standpoint. It's entertaining.
Land says his style of fighting is to wait until he learns his opponent's weakness. Sharf is going in for the KO when Land says Sharf is not good at sensing mana. A second Land appears behind Sharf and grabs his neck. The wounded Land disappears, revealing that copy was just an illusion. And that's checkmate.
Land's illusion magic is so cool, but it's also great timing. The fact that Ubel was telling Fern that Land is an even better liar than Fern is.
I did like that actually. I don't know, it was really fun. Also, this battle was really fun as well. Like, I don't know, the action is hitting the marks that it needs to.
Yeah, both of these episodes are pretty heavy on the action, but it's so well done.
Oh yeah.
Werble finds Aries' body and finds her not dead. And then he drops this awesome quote: "That bitch lied like it was nothing."
I absolutely lost it at that quote when he said it.
Good on Fern though.
Werble wakes up Aerie and says they are going to find Sharf. Aerie says she can't walk yet. Werble picks her up with magic like Fern does with Stark. Aerie says to carry her and not lift her like an object. They come across Sharf, who is also unable to move. Werble picks him up the Fern way. These guys just can't catch a break.
Seeing the background after Aerie wonders if Werble believed she was overwhelmed or not was insane. Because it's like, you believe me, don't you? And he's like, yeah. And they zoom out and you just see the destruction from Fern's attack.
Yeah, Warble calls her a monster in his inner monologue.
She was trained by Frieren, so yeah, that makes sense.
And then I got a good laugh out of watching Aerie and Scarf beg to be carried. It's like, please, please, carry. We can't walk yet. Please carry us.
This was very good comedy. Seeing like this grizzled seasoned soldier having to just like carry these people, it definitely made me chuckle.
Aerie comments on how nice Werble is and that he saved her village once before. Werble says she is dumb, and he became a mage to impress a girl who moved away when he was 5 years old. He can no longer remember her. Aerie calls him an idiot, and he agrees. All right, I know this show now. Aerie is the lost girl. I'm calling it right now.
Love the flashback scenes, and it's absolutely time to begin the Werble and Aerie ship.
I've consumed enough media to know that she's absolutely the girl he made the promise to. And 100% we have to ship Warble and Airy now. We have to ship we have to ship free runs to teammates, the two women. Gotta ship
Lavina and
them.
Kana.
Yeah, exactly.
I
We have to
mean,
ship them.
who knows when we'll see Stark next? So we have to ship some people.
I'm glad that we could fill the void here without Stark in the picture.
As Werble is walking his crew home, they see Astilla hanging out in a tree. Werble casts his binding spell, and just like that, they're back in the game. Sometimes Lady Luck smiles on you.
I love the visual of Sharf. Is it Sharf? I think it's
Yeah,
Sharf.
I think it's Sharf. These names, dude, these names.
Sharf, Stark, Scarf. They're all. It's like there's so many S names. S words, Mr. Connery. S words. Anyway, love the visual of Sharf still floating in the air as Werble goes over to pick up the Stilla.
And the way he casts his spell is so gentle. Um, I really love that despite being a he's seen the horrors of war as a soldier, but he seems to have retained his humanity. He didn't really want to kill Ubel. He didn't want to. He didn't want to keep up the fight when he thought it was over. He saw no reason to kill Ubel, even though he probably could have. And he very carefully captures this Stilla while caring about his teammates. Now, I do worry about this party because his teammates are gassed. Like they are, they are so tired. They can barely keep their eyes open. So I hope they can lay low because I'm a little worried that Warble's gonna have to go on a 3-on-1 fight, and I don't know how that's gonna go.
Back at Freeren's group, Laufin uses her high speed or teleporting spell to steal Freeren's caged bird right from her hand. Dankin and Richter appear to stop Freeren from chasing after her. Dankin was able to figure out who Freeren is and is very cautious around her. Richter says he is going to kill a kid. Wow, this guy is dark.
Frieren was so nonchalant learning that Loffen stole the Stilla.
I think she always knew it was a possibility that the other teams were going to try and steal it. So whenever it happened, she's like, "Oh well, now it's captured. I guess we just have to get it back."
And then it was really cool to see that Denkin knew who Frieren is.
He's an old man. Now, old men would be more likely to know the legends than a young person. probably, because the Demon King, you think about it, right? And then the young people may not even really care. To them, it's just an old story, right? I guess like us growing up, right? World War II was kind of just like an old story. It's almost hard to believe that it really happened because the world we grew up in was so different from that world, right? So, when people hear the stories of the Demon King, they're like, oh, that old story, that old legend. It's hard to believe that someone who was there and did all those, uh, who had all those accomplishments is still alive and right here in front of you. So, yeah, I could see young people not being very interested in the defeat of the Demon King because their world is so different from that. But this party's OP. Frieren's team seems so green compared to the rest of these people. Like, like everyone in Denkin's team seems to know what they're doing, and I'm almost questioning how Freeren's teammates even made it into this exam. So it'll be interesting to see. I do like how we have a character I wasn't expecting to kind of enjoy was this Richter character, who's just like, "I'ma kill him," and you're like, "Holy crap!" You're like, he's gonna execute these like teenagers, and it's gonna be brutal. So I think the stakes are high. Is this that necessary killing? My anxiety.
Denkin tells Richter to settle down. All they need to do is stall for time, and they will pass the exam. Denkin says it is not worth spilling blood. Frieren agrees and says the title of first class mage means nothing to her. Richter gets upset and says when you become a first class mage, you are gifted the privilege, a chance to meet Zeria, an elf who knows almost all magic spells. You are given the chance to ask to learn any spell from her. Frieren seems to know who this Zeria is.
I'm excited to see how Frieren knows area and what their history is. Like, it's like, okay, here's another elf. And like Frieren didn't know Croft, but she seems to know Zarya. So it's like, all right, what like were they friends? Were they rivals? Like, what's their history? Or is it more of a Frieren just knows the name and the history of Zarya, and Zarya doesn't know who Frieren is?
And we have to remember that free run when she was listing off the number of people who she has lost duels to. There was one elf in there. And if this Zarya is truly a mage who runs the entire guild, then it would make sense that Zarya would be the person who defeated Frieren in a duel. She might be twice Frieren's age. We don't know anything about her, and I want to know so badly.
Richter uses his earth magic to separate the battlefield. The episode ends by setting up the next episode Lavina and Kana versus Richter, and Frieren versus Denkin. I can't wait to watch this one.
I love how the proctors are absolutely no selling the fact that Richter is just raising that giant piece of land into the sky.
They seem pretty uninterested in just about everybody.
Yeah, well, nothing seems to surprise them, right? Like, nothing at all. I like to do some battle predictions. I've not seen the next two episodes. I think Freeren's gonna lose. Like Denkin just seems to
Ooh.
know, like he seems to know what it takes to win. You know what I mean? He's not gonna kill Freeren, of course, but I think he's going to at least hold her off long enough to make an escape. So I think it's either gonna be a stalemate or Freeren's gonna lose. Lavina and Connor versus Richter. Richter's almost like cartoonishly a villain. So I think Lavina and Kana are going to win against Richter, but I think they're just going to get really beat up in the process. So, yeah, I mean, in my prediction for the end of the exam at this point would be that Fern gets her license and Freerun does not. That is my early prediction because you only need to travel with a first class mage up north, right? That's the rule. So only one of them needs to be one, and I think it's gonna be Fern.
For the loyal listeners, you know I have seen past this, so I have some of the answers, but obviously I won't tell you because you guys want to watch it for yourselves.
Any predictions, Mike?
I have a prediction that Frieren's party is somehow still going to find a Stilla, even after even if they get their butts whooped in the fight to come. I feel like they're still going to find a Stilla because just having Fern move on at this point, and there being so much time left in the season, it just sort of lacks some of the oomph to the arc. So I think they'll still find a Stilla some way. And I could even see Denkin working with Frieren of like, all right, we'll get you a Stilla, and then we're gonna stop Richter from killing these kids.
Oh, did they say how many Stilla there are?
They have not.
Everyone's assuming there's not enough.
Well, I remember. I remember there was an episode of what is it? Sherlock that I watched, and it was a very interesting point where they hid some recording equipment, and a guy was like, "Ha! I found all your recorders. You didn't catch me." So I found all three of them, and the solution was that they said there was a fourth recorder. He's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, for some reason people always stop at three." Uh, so it's kind of funny from our viewer standpoint. We're like, "Oh no, three Stilla, guarantee you. There's only three. There's three team members. There's three Stilla. It all makes sense." And you're like, why are there only three Stilla? There could be four or five Stilla. So what? Even if they battle here and Frieren loses, what if Denkin, like you said, it gave me an idea, Mike. That what if Denkin finds another Stilla, captures it, and he's like, "Here, Frieren, I stole yours. You can have this one. You're cool." Could happen.
I honestly wonder if the proctors for this exam even have a set number of Stilla that are in there, because we do see a scene where the proctors outside of the barrier, a Stilla lands on the T set. So I think they just naturally live there. They could have just put up that barrier, not knowing how many are in there. Okay, guys, go figure it out.
Yeah, screw it. There's one in there, I'm sure.
There's got to be at least one. Have fun. Like there could be 20 or 30 in there for all we know. And it's just, are you able to get one? So we threw down some predictions, but what did you guys think of these two episodes as they are?
I like them. You could definitely tell we're at the beginning of a new arc, though, just because these episodes felt a little slower. We were introducing so many characters. Uh, so definitely enjoyed them. There was some good action at times. There was a lot of character building at times. These weren't my favorite episodes, but I definitely enjoyed them.
Yeah, these were definitely like bridge episodes. They were telling the story. I like the fight. I think the mages are interesting. And that's what I want. I want interesting characters who bring something new to the table we haven't seen before, and these mages kind of fit the bill. And I like when Frieren talks about how and Denkin when they talk about how mages used to be versus the way mages are now. How there's like so fewer of them, and how like you could walk into town square and find like a handful at any given time. But because there's far less war than there used to be, there's less of a need for mages, so people just aren't you know doing magic to the extent they were before. And I love seeing things like that. So good episodes, but I think the best is yet to come.
I'm actually a pretty big fan of these episodes. I mean, I don't think it's a surprise. I've mentioned before, I'm a big fan of like, shonen battle anime. So the fact that they've, put some of those elements into here where there's a lot more, fighting that's been happening that typically the show does not have a ton of, I've really enjoyed. They are typically a little bit quicker of battles. They're not real long, drawn out things, but the animation and the actual fight sequences have been really, really good and really cool. So I like these episodes. I'm excited for more. But now it is time for everyone's favorite segment, the waifu of the week. Sean, why don't you go first this week? Who's your waifu of the week?
Sure. This week I'm gonna pick Fern. I'm gonna pick one of our mainstays in the show. I know that it'd be kind of fun to pick some new characters, but honestly, I love just like Fern brute forcing every battle, and it just brings me great joy to see her like stand there expressionless with a staff that looks like it's twice as tall as her, and just like blasting someone away completely with little to no effort. It brings me great joy, and she also saved her teammate Like she suppressed her mana, she snuck up on the guy, lied and convinced him that she killed his teammate, and saved her own teammate in the process. She did some heavy lifting, even though she actually got very little screen time. So I'll pick Fern.
How about you, Mike? Who is your waifu this week?
I'm actually going to go with Warble, one of the new characters. And yeah, he's sort of a dick at times, but like, he deep down he cares. He almost reminds me of Askeladd. Askeladd was like always playing that chess matchup, but like Askeladd wasn't afraid to do what was necessary. And Warble, he's like, yeah, I don't like killing, but if it needs to be done, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I don't remember that girl I said I was gonna be this great mage to, and yeah, I was a dumb 5-year-old, but I'm still like, I made that promise.
I see that. I can see that. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm down with that, yeah.
This week, I am going to choose Dankin as my waifu. I really like this old guy. He seems like he has seen a lot, he's been through a lot, and he's gained a lot of wisdom, and he's using that to do something special that we don't know what it is yet. But I definitely feel like Dankin is here not just to get a first-class mage license. There's meaning behind that. There's a goal that he wants to reach, and I want to know what that is. I'm very intrigued by this character. He's super intelligent and very strategical. He's really, he took charge of his team. He's guiding them, even if they don't necessarily agree with him all the time, like Richter. He seems to have his own kind of agenda. He does at least respect Dankin's wisdom. So even if he doesn't agree with him, he still, is able to use and rely his information as a good source. So I find Dankin very interesting, and I want to know more about him. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watched Frieren Beyond Journey's End. We hope you join us next week for episode 50 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will watch episodes 21 and 22 of Frieren. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. If you are listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Sean, do you have anything you want to plug?
I'd rather hear Mike give us the lowdown on our contest.
Oh, that's right. We got a contest. Mike, why don't you tell everybody the rules?
To celebrate our first anniversary, we are giving away a 3-month subscription to Crunchyroll. Hooray! Go on! To enter the contest for the 3 months of Crunchyroll, email us a screenshot of you giving the podcast a 5-star review on Spotify and a screenshot of you being subscribed to the YouTube channel to animebanterpodcast@gmail.com before March 26. Again, email a screenshot of you giving the podcast a 5-star review on Spotify, a screenshot of you being subscribed to the YouTube channel, and email those screenshots to animebanterpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, the email address is animebanterpodcast@gmail.com, and do this before March 26. Also, include your name so we can say who won the contest.
I want to thank everyone on behalf of the Anime Banter podcast for joining us this week. We'll talk to you next week. I'm going to bed.
I'm going to play Final Fantasy.
Watch more Frieren.